Hey guys, AuspiciousAussie here, and welcome to episode 20 of Black Canvas Grappling. Now, if you do want to catch me live streaming, I am currently recording, not currently live streaming, but I'm in the process of continuing our TCW live streams. Make sure you go to the description down below where you can find a link to purchase TEW 2020, and there is the Twitch link as well for my channel. But apart from that, let's get into this episode. Now, obviously, we need to advance, and we are actually starting our new tour, the Champions Tour, which is going to lead into, I think it's called Test of Champions, if I'm not mistaken, which is our next sort of big pay-per-view event. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. Obviously, interesting. So we've got Furusawa changing his wrestling style, and he's now a technician striker. Okay, interesting. Hopefully that won't sort of damage his performances. I don't see how changing wrestling style would greatly affect his wrestling ability. Yeah, so we're booking towards the next pay-per-view. And I'm kind of happy that we have, I guess, finished the Grand Prix tour. It was obviously very long. And, it's of course very enjoyable to book a tournament like that. But at the same time, we haven't really been able to progress anyone else apart from the 16 guys that we used during the tournament. So, with that said, our first tour main event, I'm not sure if I want to actually put in some storylines. Obviously, we've got importers here, which we added quite a long time ago, but that's literally just the import stable. Let's add another one. Let's just call it the World Championship, or world title. I guess world heavyweight title, if we're gonna call it, call it for what it is properly. And so obviously in this one we're gonna have Funikoshi involved. We obviously need Reizan Okamoto because he's gonna be challenging for the title. And finally, we're also going to need, I guess, Mabuchi Furusawa for now. We may as well throw in Bunraku Kentori as well. So there's I guess the main storyline. Now what we can also do is have the Challenger Series title storyline. We can essentially just put in a whole load of mid-carders into here. So let's have Brody, let's have Naoze and Goto. Who else do we want to have in here? That's an interesting question, because let's have Matsuzawa. He's not a part of any tag team. I want to have Yuta Osono in there as well, so... okay. Let's, I guess, chuck in Roku Sotomura. We also need to take Giant Brody out of this storyline here and add him back into this one. Alright. I think we'll actually also add... yeah, let's add in James Diaz. Because I think we're going to start the James Diaz push fairly soon. One more thing to do, we need to do a medal. And once again, I want to do James Diaz. And I really want to do Yuta Osono. I really don't want these guys to have any negative chemistry together. Well, not negative chemistry, but negative relationship with each other. Because they are probably going to be two of our biggest stars in the future. Alright, so with that said, let's run a main event. And we want to have Funikoshi. And he can team up with... good question. Who can he team up with? Let's go Yurigataya. Yeah. So Funikoshi, Yurigataya, and they're going to take on Big Bruiser Finley and Giant Brody. We'll give this one 20 minutes. I think we should be able to. Maybe not with Brody's stamina there. That might be a bit of a problem, but we're going to try and do it anyway. Okay, it worked. So there's a 20-minute main event with Giant Brody in it, even though it is a tag team match. Now, I want to actually do a few tag team matches here. So I want to have Kamasaka and Kiyotaka taking on Cloaked in Shadows. And we will give Kamasaka the victory. Again, it's kind of important that we try and build him back up a little bit. He did take quite a few losses during the Grand Prix. He took all the losses, basically. Up next, I want to go... We need to book a Young Lions match. So let's have Matsushita. And he can team up with Gata and Kisaka. And they can take on the team of... Let's get rid of these and let's see what we've got left. Go Ginji... No, not Ginji. Iki Hisaka. We then need... I think I want to get rid of this guy. He's really bad, and I noticed when I went back and watched the other episodes, when we first signed these dojo graduates, he's actually a bully, so he's going to drag down our backstage rating. So I think I might just get rid of him and just fire him straight up. We might do that in between episodes. I'm not too sure about the other ones. Let's have a look. He's also a troublemaker. I might get rid of all of them if they're negative. Who was the final guy? Or do we only sign those two? I think we only signed those two, if I remember correctly. Alright, so let's go Takanori Doi, who we haven't really used recently. And, who else? I guess we'll go Suguro Emoto. It's kind of a bit of a throwaway match. Maybe it belongs on the pre-show. We might put it on the pre-show, actually. Yeah, let's put it on the pre-show for now, and then I'll kind of see what else we've got. Because I do want to have those other tag matches, like I said. So we want to have the American Cobras, and they're going to take on... Let me exclude already booked. I guess they can take on Ipitsutsai and Okamasa. We might want to give this... Oh, I don't think we can give it 20 minutes. Can we give it... Let's try and give it 20. Purely for the fact that it's the American Cobras and they're really good. Alright, will this work? Let's have a look. It won't work, okay. Alright, I guess we'll just make it 12 minutes then, that's fine. It's obviously going to get penalized a little bit, but... we should be alright, we should be alright. I think we also might make it the technical masterclass, yeah. Well, if that's the case, we need to make it longer, don't we? Let's do it. Let's make it 15. And I guess we'll have that one run first, as that also kind of makes sense. Alright, so after that, we want to have one final regular tag team match. And we want to have Yokikawa and Sen taking on... I guess Shining Force. That's a good idea. We might actually be able to make this one 20 minutes. Just due to the people involved. I think Yokikawa and Sen are relatively high up the card. Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, it's only slightly used. Yeah, okay, that looks pretty fine. Let's also make this the Steal the Show match. That can go there. And then we got one more match that we need to book. So let's do a 4-on-4. And I kind of want to just pretty much just chuck in whoever's left. Because like I said, a lot of people haven't been used recently, so we want to try and make sure that they do actually get used. Let's go with James Diaz. Let's go with Furusawa on that team as well. And I guess they can take on... We haven't really used Suki recently, so let's chuck Suki onto the other team. Matsuzawa can go in there as well. And then maybe... Yeah, let's go Mitsukuri and Kinoshita. Okay, that should be pretty good. Alright, let's actually give James Diaz the victory, because we're going to try and build up his momentum. And I guess the loser can be Mitsukuri. So I think it does need to be scripted. Actually, we also might want to keep... Yeah, let's do this. Let's keep Suki strong. Just to, Okay, never mind. We won't do that. We might actually have to take Suki out of the match. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to take Suki out. Maybe Blast would take... let's not waste Blast. Have we not used Goto? Okay, well, Goto it is. There we go. Alright. Okay, and Goto doesn't want to lose to a young lion on a main show either. Alright, well I guess we have to give the victory to maybe Yoshinaka Taku instead. Yeah, there we go. I mean, it's just the fact that Diaz is the one picking up the pinfall. That's the only reason why they were upset. Anyway, let's go for an angle here, and what I want to do is have Big Bruiser Finlay and Giant Brody in an angle together. So Finlay's going to be on entertainment. We'll script it, and then we'll have Menace for Big Bruiser Finlay. Give them both a little bit of success, and I actually want to advance their storyline here as well. I'm not sure if it's been advanced for quite some time. Alright, so that's going to go before the main event there. I think I then maybe want to have the American Cobras with an angle. I'm pretty sure... I mean, they're passable. They're kind... Ugh. I mean, Storm's not really passable, if we're being honest. Okay. Alright, what we're going to do instead... Let's have Reizan Okamoto and Funakoshi, and I guess they can essentially have an angle between themselves after the show. And of course, we are building towards them as our main event for the World Heavyweight title, so it does make sense, and I feel like it's almost beneficial to an extent to get Reizan Okamoto on as many cards as possible. It would be nice to get his popularity back up to 63, where it was at before he lost in his match to Furusawa on the last episode. Who else do we want? Let's go Dreadnaught. Dreadnaught does need a lot of work, so him being on the pre-show with these guys would be very beneficial. Very beneficial, that's for sure. Alright, perfect. What's our problem now? Our referee. We are overusing a lot of people on this show, actually. Let's lower this by 1 minute. That might solve a couple, yeah. Okay, perfect. Change the referee there as well, and we are good to go. Okay. Alright, let's run the show. We start off with a 35, not very good. I'm pretty glad I put this on the pre-show. Very glad. And we have Rockemon Masashita and Agata and Kisaka defeating Iki Hisaka, Takanori Doi, and Suguro Emoto in just over 12 minutes, when Rockemon Masashita pinned Iki Hisaka with an... That's some bad grammar there. With a one-handed chokeslam, and as you'd expect, Matsushita head and shoulders above everybody else. But unfortunately, Agata has picked up broken ribs in this match, which I'm assuming is probably a botch from someone, one of these young lions on the other team. Kind of hoping it's Suguru and not one of these two, because I do actually like Hisaka and Doi, and I'm just not a massive fan of Suguru Emoto. Anyway, we had a few people off their game. Agata, Kisaka, and then Iki Hisaka as well. Not great. Alright, so broken ribs, and it was Takanori Doi with the botch. So now Doi and Agata are going to have some morale issues with each other, and some tension between them. The next pre-show match does a bit better, getting a 46, where we have Reizan Okamoto and Blaster Coma defeating Yuta Usono and Dreadnaught in 12:30, when Reizan Okamoto pinned Dreadnaught with a brainbuster suplex, and Dreadnaught was the weak link. Alright, so we then kick off the main show, getting a 61, where we have the American Cobras defeating Ipitsutsai and Okamasa in just under 15 minutes, when Storm Spillane submitted Shiruku Okamasa with a kneeling Boston Crab, and of course this was our technical masterclass. And we've got Storm Spillane up there with a 70 in-ring performance, which is very, very good to see. I mean, I'm sure before it was Marvin Malloy that was dominating in the ring, but it seems to have flipped now. Very interesting. Alright, we then go into our next match, getting a 51. We have James Diaz, Mabuchi Furusawa, and Team Taku defeating Naozen Goto, Yoshisada Matsuzawa, and Mitsukuri and Kinoshita in 11-14 when Yoshinaka Taku and Ichiro Mitsukuri with a full Nelson bomb. And yeah, as you'd expect, Furusawa head and shoulders above everybody else. But he only picked up a 70, so that's interesting. But obviously it was probably too short of a match for him to really pick up any sort of, 80-plus in-ring performance. We also had Matsuzawa really off his game. Moving on to a 48-rated tag team match, where we have Kamasaka and Kiyotaka defeating Cloaked in Shadows in 11-47, when Katonamaru Kamasaka pinned Shadow Ichimori with a stump piledriver. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Prowler Igarashi seemed off his game as well. But they both have very similar in-ring performances there. And like I said, it's just a good win for Kamasaka and Kiyotaka. We then move into another tag team match, which does really well, getting us a 69. We have Shining Force, again, coming back together a little bit after they had a little, let's call them minor issues during the Grand Prix. And of course, the draw between them two. And they do defeat Yokikawa and Sen in 2012, when Tanyu Toshisai pinned Nobuharu Yokikawa with a dangerous brainbuster. And yeah, Bunraku Tori was really off his game as well. Lots of people seem really off their game. The consistency does not seem very good at the moment. But yeah, 69 is really good. Alright, we then go into a 55 rated angle, where we have Big Bruiser Finley and Giant Brody. And of course, they want to get a big victory here tonight against Funikoshi. Well, essentially, Big Bruiser Finley wants to try and get a pinfall victory to put his name into the hat, for a potential title shot. The main event, it does relatively well, 75, where we have Funikoshi and Masashi Uragataya defeating Big Bruiser Finley and Giant Brody in 1942, when Funikoshi pinned Giant Brody with a butterfly backbreaker, and of course, Funikoshi carried the match. Yeah, it's an acceptable main event. Not the best. Not going to get us any popularity in Kansai, but it's good enough to, obviously it's good enough. And then we finish the show off with a 57 rated angle, where we have Reizo Okamoto and Funikoshi going back and forth with each other. And of course, Okamoto said, "I beat you during the Grand Prix, and now it's time for me to, claim my rightful place and to win the World Heavyweight title." And yeah, I guess we can, I don't want to pre-book it in. It might spoil a few things. Anyway, let's finish the show. And we get a 70 overall rating. That's good enough. But again, does not increase our popularity in Kansai. And it does increase it in the other 7 regions. Alright. I mean, that was a pretty good show. I kind of enjoyed just booking that one. It definitely feels a lot different when compared to booking the Grand Prix. Ooh, Joshua Taylor. Interesting. We've got a pay rise request here now from Masashi Uragataya. And he wants 480 per appearance. I mean, he hasn't really done much, so I don't really know where that's sort of coming from. A little bit annoying. A little bit annoying. Alright, so Garda picking up his injury, of course, with the botch. Let's actually take a look at that. So, okay, it's only 25 days. It's not too bad. He is still working through it, so essentially we could still use him. Anyway, let's advance into the next tour show. I think there's only 6 tour shows before we get into Test of Champions. So that'll be interesting. We've also got a pay rise request here from Yoshinaka Taku. But you know what? He actually deserves it. He's only being paid 70 at the moment. And he wants 460, so we'll give him his 75% increase. But yeah, I mean, that's deserved, unlike Urugutaya, who really didn't deserve his pay rise. A little bit strange. Anyway. Alright. Tour day number 2. Being shown on Shogun. Let's go a generic venue, as you'd expect. We do have an incident. What's our incident? Hopefully it's something positive. I really need something positive at the moment. Okay, it's Wrestler's Court, so we've got a small positive impact upon Yoshinaka Taku. That's not too bad. And again, I guess we've got some more meddling to do, so let's go with Yutaka, Agata, and Takanori Doi. Would have been nice if we could have just gotten rid of that straight away. Anyway. Alright, so this main event, we want to have, I think, a 3-on-3. And what I want to do, I kind of just want to throw all of our like main guys up into this match. So let's kind of try and separate them by heel and face, the way that I would see them personally. So Funakoshi at the moment, I would say, is probably a heel. So obviously, B-Bruiser Philly 100% would be a heel, without a shadow of a doubt. Furusawa is going to be a face. Okamoto is going to be a face. And I guess we can finish it off with Suki. But then at the same time, I kind of see Suki as a bit of a tweener. Like he's in between face and heel. And he doesn't really, I guess, identify himself as either or. But I think we'll go Suki and then Blastakoma, who is also, in my eyes, very much a heel. Can be on the other team. And I might try and let's give this 25 minutes. I want to see what happens. 25 minutes on a tour show. And I think we'll give the victory to Okamoto. And I guess the loser can be Blast. As I'm really not too worried about Blast. I do like him. And like I said many times in the past, I just see him as our perfect guy that is going to bring up the mid-carders and sort of elevate them to a better level. Anyway, next match. Let's have Shining Force take on Team Taku. Also going to be a pretty good match, I would assume. Not 100% sure if we can go for too long. But I guess the result of this match is going to be a little bit interesting, a little bit strange. And I'll try and explain it once we play the show out. Obviously, in theory, you would think that Shining Force are sort of back together, working on all cylinders after the victory last tour show. But things might not be as, clear as they seem. Anyway. So for this one, let's go with Kamisaka and Kiyotaka. I'm kind of thinking about putting them in a stable with Urugutaya. I feel like they all kind of look similar. They're all kind of angry. And, they're just, I guess, not happy that they're kind of being underused. That could be a really good stable to try and create and just try and elevate all 3 of those members. We could also maybe throw in someone else. Preferably one of our young lions that we're not really using too much either. I guess the one that kind of stands out would actually be Suguro Emoto, who has a pretty disgusted look on his face. But Suga Amano also could be pretty interesting. And I obviously like Suga a lot more. Interesting. Either way, let's go Cloaked in Shadows, and they can be teamed up with... I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point. I forgot to fire those other guys, didn't I? Let's go with Doi. I mean, I'm not too sure about Doi at the moment, with his botch in the last tour show as well. Kind of seems I mean, I think we do definitely have better young lions with us at the moment, so... Alright, so that's going to be Steal the Show. Could this be our technical masterclass? It probably could be. Alright, so 66 technical. 64, okay. We've got our technical masterclass, perfect. Alright. We need another filler match. Let's go a tag match, and let's have Giant Brody and Animal Haka. And they can team up against Naozane Goto. And... who else? Roku Sotomura? Yeah. I mean, that kind of works. Let's give Goto the victory onto Animal Haka. Because Goto is going to be getting his rematch against Brody at Test of Champions, so... I feel like that'd be a pretty good match. And let's actually go like a special singles match as well on this card. And let's have Matsushita take on... Who's pretty good? Let's go Storm Spillane in a singles match. Obviously, he's a renowned tag team wrestler, so... How long can Rockymon go for? Yeah, not too long. We'll try and go 16, but I don't think it's going to happen. Let's see if he can do a 16-minute match. Yeah, okay. Get rid of slow build, and let's, I guess, drop it down to 13, maybe? Okay, 13 minutes. Not great, but it is what it is. Let's actually put it there. I like it there. Alright, so let's do some angles. Let's go Bunraku Tori and Tanyu Toshitsai. And that's obviously going to go at the start of the show before their match. And it's going to be them, you know, talking things out, trying to get back on the same page. Especially after last week. They did seem like they were heading in the right direction. And then finally, let's just go with the same angle that we did before with Funakoshi this time being the main responder to the situation. Let's not script either of them. Let's see what happens. It's more of a test, really. Okay. Pre-show. Let's go with a 6-man. Let's just get it over and done with. Yokikawa and Sen can team up with Matsuzawa. Actually, they can team up with James Diaz. And they can take on Ginji Kisaka, Dreadnaught, and... Actually, instead of using them, let's use our champions, Miura and Yoshizawa, with James Diaz. And then I guess the final member could be Wild Red Stallion. We haven't really used him much recently. Alright, that's our pre-show. Nice. Alright, let's run this one as well. Alright, so we start off with a 44 rated pre-show match, where we have James Diaz and Miura and Yoshizawa defeating Ginji Kisaka, Dreadnaught, and Wild Red Stallion in just under 12 minutes. when Noritoshi Miura pinned Wild Red Stallion with a Storm Rider. Yeah, good match. Alright, so we then start the main show off with a 67 rated angle, where we have Shining Force. Like I said, Tori and Toshisai, they're trying to talk things out, trying to relieve the tension that they had during the Grand Prix. Of course, Toshisai was super close to actually overtaking Tori as the runner-up. Obviously, that pissed Tori off because he saw it as Toshisai essentially trying to take his place and, eliminate him from the tournament. And obviously, Toshisai was just trying to do his best. But he kind of feels like he's a little bit in the... he's being put a little bit to the side when it comes to this tag team, essentially. He kind of feels like, the spotlight is primarily on Bunraku and Tori. And obviously, that's kind of how Tori wants it. So, there's some possible fractures happening in this tag team. Obviously, at the moment, they're still together. However, we go into our first match on the card, getting a 61, where we have Team Taku defeating Shining Force in 15:37, when Yoshinaka Taku pinned Tanyu Toshisai with a full Nelson bomb. So yeah, Toshisai losing the match. Obviously, Tori's going to be pretty furious about it. He's not going to be happy. And yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good match. I'm happy with that. We then go into another tag team match, which gets a 57, where we have the former Challenger Series champion, Naozan Goto, and Roku Sotomura, defeating Giant Brody, the current champion, of course, who won the title in that fatal four-way match, and Animal Haka, his stablemate, in 11:55, when Naozan Goto pinned Animal Haka with a Goto Slam, and Giant Brody carried this match. And we also had Sotomura off his game as well. Good to see Brody stepping up, though. That title win definitely helped him out. Alright, so we then go into a six-man tag, which gets a 51. We have Masashi Urigataya, and he's teaming up with, like I said, possible new stablemates in Kamasaka and Kiyotaka, and they defeat Takanori Doi and Cloaked in Shadows in 12:20, when Masashi Urigataya pinned Takanori Doi with a jumbo backdrop suplex. And once again, Shadow Ichimori off his game. He's not doing too well. These guys, I don't know about them. I do like them, and I like their look and everything. They're not too bad in the ring either. But they just don't seem to really perform. And I don't know why. We then go into our special singles match for this tour show, which gets a 61. Where we have Storm Spillane defeating Rokumon Matsushita in just under 13 minutes by submission with a kneeling Boston Crab. And yeah, Storm with a 65 in this one as well, despite it being an unimportant match. Too short for an important match. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good win. Good singles victory there for Storm. Like I said, he's not really known for it at the moment. But he might be coming up. We might start to push him up. And then our main event, it does relatively well. Only getting a 73, so it's a little bit lower than the last tour show. And of course, we have Mibuchi Furusawa, Reizan Okamoto, and Suki defeating Big Bruiser Finley, Funakoshi, and Blaster Coma in 24:37, when Reizan Okamoto pinned Blaster Coma with a Brain Buster Suplex. Yeah, I mean, it was a good match. We gave it 25 minutes as a bit of a test. I'm not too sure if that, helped things or made things worse. Let's have a look what our penalties are. Alright, so Big Bruiser Finley was holding back. He was inconsistent. He's got low morale as well, which I assume has to do with his morale issues with Okamoto, which might be the reason why Okamoto's matches are a little bit worse. I really do need to try and fix that up a little bit, I guess. Anyway, everyone's holding back, essentially, because it's only a tour show. So it's obviously a less important show in regards to how the game sees it. So people do tend to hold back for these sort of minor shows, they're called. Anyway, Furusawa apparently inconsistent as well. And then there's Okamoto and his low morale as well. And apparently the World Heavyweight title storyline has low heat. Okay, anyway. It's not a bad main event. We then move into a 67 rated angle. And of course it is essentially a repeat of the last one. But this time it is Funakoshi who essentially sustained a loss in this six-man tag to Reizan Okamoto. And of course, he's saying that there is no way that Okamoto is going to be the one to dethrone him as the champion. You know, there's not a chance. He's been super dominant since we started the series, and it's not Okamoto's time. That's essentially what Funakoshi is saying. But yeah, much better angle. Okamoto did a wonderful or masterful job of improvising interactions, and Funakoshi worked the crowd well. Okay, the overall rating is 1 point lower. We got a 69 here, which does seem to be a fairly consistent number that we have been getting recently, especially throughout the Grand Prix. And again, increasing our popularity in 7 regions. We will have a look. Now, it was recommended that I bring in Masao Sabushi here, who is extremely good. But the only thing is, we would never actually be able to get him on a written contract because he is loyal with Exodus, who are essentially our biggest competitors at the moment. And we would essentially, by pushing him, we would essentially be hurting our own guys even more. Because, you know, our guys are obviously loyal, and then we have other guys that aren't loyal to anyone, so they can essentially be signed to exclusive contracts once we go up in size. Anyway, enough about that. Let's have a look at the size here. So we're still at 55 popularity for Kansai, which is fine. It's going to go up, but it's going up very slowly at the moment. Other regions, we've got 28 Chubu, 28 Shigoku, 27 in Shikoku, and Kyushu is at 28 as well. But good to see these other regions starting to get up there. You know, they're getting pretty close. Kanto's almost at a 20, and the other two are at 18, so it's looking good. Obviously, the more popularity we have, the better we're going to be. There's more sponsorship and stuff like that, and probably more. I'm assuming the higher popularity you are in every region equates to maybe more TV viewers and revenue possibly coming in. Now, one thing I'm curious about, let's have a look at our finances for a second. So we're kind of getting a very, very small amount of broadcast revenue from these tour shows. Whereas I'm assuming the 8,000 some there, most of that would be the actual Grand Prix show itself, in my opinion. That's what I would think it would be. So that's pretty interesting because obviously we want to try and make as much money as possible so we can essentially start our own broadcaster as well. I think they have fixed everything up with that. I jump into investments here. I'm not sure if we would go pay-per-view or commercial. That's kind of interesting. Either way, I think we would want a medium coverage. I guess would be our sort of short term that we want. But like I said recently, we could just go for another region. 1.1 million for a small. Let me get rid of that. So 725,000 for a small coverage in Oceania, which we could then use eventually to try and get a TV or a pay-per-view deal in that region as well. There's some interesting things that we really have to think about because we're sort of getting to that stage with our money. How much would it cost for the US? That's an interesting question. It's obviously going to be a lot more money. Let me have a look. So let's go none, and then small in the US. It's only going to be 1.125 million. What about Canada? Canada's cheaper. It's only 725,000 as well. What about Mexico? Probably. Oh, Mexico's even cheaper than that. We could actually get Mexico right now. 1.8 million for a medium coverage. And 2.1 million. Okay. That's interesting. I've got a lot of things to think about as we sort of progress through here. Anyways, that's going to be the end of the episode, guys. Please make sure you've smashed the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're a newer viewer or you haven't subscribed yet. And don't forget to head over to the Twitch channel. Link for that in the description. Give the Twitch channel a follow, and you'll hopefully be notified when I start to go live for our TEW series, if you're interested in catching that live. Of course, the VODs are uploaded to YouTube as, you know, sort of separate pay-per-view episodes with our progress leading up to it. Anyways, that's going to be it for me. As always, take it easy, and goodbye.